Welcome to Prof E Plays. I'm Prof E, and we are starting here a new series, I guess, right, of playing. I'm going to do Cepheus Universal solo, which I've done this before. I've done a couple series of Cepheus, but we're starting up new characters and a new structure. So I'm using the same rules as I did in my previous campaign, which just wrapped up. Uh, but brand new in terms of characters and all of that. I'm not expecting there to be much continuity, honestly, between the two. I might possibly, right, steal some characters from the previous to fit in here as needed, but no sense of, oh, this is season two picking up where season one left off or anything like that. The big thing that I want to try this time, right, is, I like to experiment with different structures and that. The big thing that I'm introducing this time is this, right? So it's playing solo classic traveler. Uh, I'm not playing Classic Traveler, but nonetheless, the structure is very similar to the kind of thing that you can do in Cepheus. So I'm going to be doing that. Right, so this is from Zuzur Games, Paul Elliott, right, who has written a couple of different Cepheus-related things. So he has like the entire Hostile universe, which is a setting, right, for Cepheus. He also has Cepheus Universal, which is the rule set that I'm using, which is based on the Cepheus system reference document with some really interesting tweaks in there as well. So, and he also has a couple solo tools that are related to the Cepheus engine Traveler kind of stuff, right? So for those that don't know, the Cepheus engine at root is a 2d6 engine, right? So for most of the time, what I'm going to be doing is roll 2d6 like this. There we go. 6, not a terrible roll. Right, then add a skill modifier based on my character's abilities, and then trying to hit an 8. Now, there may be other die modifiers that come along because of the ease or difficulty of a task, or because of having or not having particular tools, and so on. But the fundamental system is just roll 2 dice, add your skill, hope for an 8. That's the idea. Okay. Now, there are little exceptions and tweaks here with different kinds of checks, but fundamentally that is the base concept. So, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to follow the structure laid out by Paul Elliott in this playing solo classic traveler. Um, and so that means that this session is purely going to be about establishing our main character. So I'm going to read a little bit from this just to provide the idea. So the idea is we want to create a character using either the Book 1 rules or the rules and supplement for Citizens of the Imperium. So this is based on Classic Traveler. I'm instead going to be using the character creation rules from Cepheus Universal. But watch every roll. This will be your primary character. So we want to ask questions like, so how close did you make a survival roll? Right? Why did you fail a promotion roll? You made your reenlistment roll by 6 points. Why? And imagination will be required here in order to extrapolate the results of rolls and the skill gains being made. So then we ask questions like, so what is the finished character like? And Polly says he's found nearly all characters to be playable, but he might possibly be a masochist at that point, right? So, and then just make some other points about how very rarely is it your skills that are going to save you, but rather your ingenuity and the like. And he works through an example. So the basic idea is we're going to be working through character creation today, and specifically the main character for our um, campaign, whatever that's going to look like. So in order to do this, I'm again using the Cepheus Universal rules, which I bought from Drive Through RPG. I believe they normally run about $20 or so. I think that I got a deal and got them for 10. In any case, so for character creation here, he offers three options. I'm going to do the option that got stuck in an appendix because that is the most like what you'll find in Classic Traveler. Right, so the idea is fairly straightforward. Once I turn all the way to the back, the appendix. Here it is. I'm going to be flipping back and forth here a bit too, just because some of the character creation stuff is in the first chapter, some of it's in the very end. All right, so I'm doing what we call a term by term character. So the idea here is that you create your initial character at age 18, right? Then you enter a career. And during this career, you have 4 year terms. So basically, at the end of every 4 years, you find out what happened, right? During those 4 years, did you get new skills? Did you get to keep your job? Did you get a promotion? Did you get fired? Right? These types of things. Did you just decide to leave your job? So all of these things you find out through this process. Now, in the original Classic Traveler, uh, you roll something called Survival, and this is also there if you do certain versions of Cepheus. It's very rare for you to die in Cepheus Universal during character creation. Not so rare in Classic Traveler. It's actually fairly common, right? So, which is kind of a fun thing when I've played before, but we don't have to worry about that here. So the first step, let's get to this, is to determine characteristics. There are six characteristics. They are strength, dex, endurance, intelligence, education, and social influence. Right, so to get this, we just roll 2d6 6 times in order along those lines, and then we'll apply modifiers as necessary. All right, so let's go ahead and roll them. So strength. Strength is a 4. That is definitely below average. Okay, so we have 4 here. Dexterity, 2. Not a physically oriented character, I would say. Endurance is a 4 as well. Oh, these dice hate me. Intelligence. Okay, we've got an 8 there, so slightly above average for intelligence. Okay, then education. 6, so slightly below average for education. Okay. And then finally, social influence. And that's an 11. Okay, so quite high with social influence. So this is a weak, only slightly intelligent, probably rich kid, is my guess. Right, so when you think about these roles, right, so strength being relatively low means one, he's probably not very big. And I'm going to assume he just because I'm going to give him my own gender. Yeah, also, I'm going to assume human, because I like a human, at least a human-centric universe, even if not entirely human. Right? So low dex means that he's kind of clumsy, right? And not particularly fast, right? Low endurance means that he's going to have a hard time, right, facing any kind of physical challenges and kind of standing up to them. Intelligence being slightly above average, only slightly above average though, that's good for any kind of mental tasks that he has to do. Education of 6 is slightly below average. Uh, I mean, but that's still kind of like the 6 to 8 range is basically average, right? So I'm not so he just has an average level of education for an 18-year-old. That's basically it. In effect, finished high school, that type of thing. The social score of 11, that is quite high. Remember, 12 is the maximum here. So 11, pretty good. Pretty good. Right, so probably comes from an important family would be the most likely thing. He hasn't made a name for himself because he's only 18 at this point in time. Right, so that is where we start. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add these two. I have two different character sheets that I'm doing. One is the finished character sheet, the other one is the term by term character sheet. Right, so I need a name and sex. Well, I am going to, again, assume male here and human. I also need a name. Now, here, what I'm going to use. Now, you can use any kind of name generator you want, right? So you can pull up, honestly, random name generator is something you can just Google, fairly easy. But I'm going to use some of my Game Master's Apprentice cards that I got a while back. I got a reasonably good deal on these. They were bundled with the No HP RPG, bookmark RPG, which is literally a like bookmark size. It's like the size of one of these cards. It's a standard poker size playing deck. That's poker is a bridge. All right, it doesn't particularly matter. All right, so I'm going to pull two of these at random and pull a first name and last name from those. Okay, so here we go. So the first one, the masculine name on this would be Wilbur. That's a good sci-fi name for you. Wilbur, and then so there are three names on each of these cards, right? So there's a name that is coded more masculine, one that's coded more feminine, and one that's kind of more neutral. I like to use the neutral names as a last name, right? So, for example, the last name, like the more neutral name here on the second card that I drew was Orla. It's a perfectly fine last name. So Wilbur Orla is our character, who is weak and clumsy. Uh, all right. So next thing we need to do. So we've got the name, we've got the sex. Number three is origins. So we need to randomly determine the character's homeworld, family situation, and siblings. So this comes from page 38. So I need to turn back a bit. Oh my goodness, I managed to turn exactly to page 38. I got lucky there. All right, so to roll homeworld, there's a table here we roll. So it's a 2d6 roll. I rolled a 4 here. My dice are loving the number 4, aren't they? So homeworld, 4 is an asteroid belt, right? So he's originally from an asteroid belt. Right, and the tech level, it's a D6 plus 9, so it's going to be fairly high tech level here. Oh yeah, tech level 15. Now, just so you know, if you're not familiar with kind of how tech levels work in this kind of system, tech level 15, here's what that means. This is a high stellar level of technology. So floating cities are now possible, although rare and expensive. So we have things like plasma weapons, we have powered armor, we have weather control, we have certainly some kind of gravity manipulation as well, right? So all of this kind of stuff is there, right? So we're a fairly sophisticated society. You just put it that way. All right, right. So that's one. Now, in terms of family, let's find out about his parents. We're going to roll 2d6 to determine. Okay, so 8. 8 indicates that they are alive. Right, so parents are alive, and we have to roll another. So this is standing. So we need to find out what their standing is. 5. Dirt poor and struggling. So that's interesting. Okay, so your parents, dirt poor, struggling. Yet a very high social influence statistic. So that is an interesting contradiction. And these kinds of contradictions are the kind of thing that you want to think about, right? So social influence is your ability to influence others, right? So my first instinct, right, was that social influence of 11 indicated he's probably from a wealthy family, right? So people listen because he's rich. That's apparently not the case. Right? At the very least, his parents are rich. So there are a couple ways that I'm thinking about this could go for Wilbur Orla. Right, so one would be, right, he's dirt poor and struggling, but very socially influential. So it could just be that he has a great deal of kind of natural charisma, right? So social standing can take the place of that charisma kind of statistic. So that's a possibility. Uh, Another possibility is that while they're not rich, they may possibly be an old, significant family, which that is also, again, perfectly possible. So either one of these paths, I think, is reasonable. I'm just going to make some other notes for my modifier. So we're at a -1 on strength, a -2 on dex, -1 on endurance, intelligence, no modifier, education, no modifier, and a +1 on social. Okay. So I'm thinking about possibilities here, right? So he might possibly be from an old family that is now kind of on the ropes financially. Okay, so I'm imagining here. I kind of like the direction this is going, right? That so we know that they're in the asteroid belt, so it makes sense to me. He comes from a belter mining family, and specifically, they own right some kind of mining operation, something like that. That would give them a high social standing, but at the same time, business has not been good recently for whatever reason, right? So that's what I'm imagining is the case here. So I'm going to say, is they're dirt poor, they're struggling, but I'm going to say that they own right an asteroid mining facility, but it's in financial trouble, and that's kind of the environment that he grew up in, where so we have um, so he has his family, right, but they're just there's a lot of stress in the household. Um, while they're important people, right, at the same time they're really trying to put on a good face, right, for the community that they find themselves with here, the Belter community. And so that's what I'm imagining will be the case for him. All right, so I think that that is a good path to follow here. Now let's look at siblings. So siblings, again, a 2d6 roll. What does siblings look like? Six. So he has one sibling. So we need to figure out about this sibling. So first, I guess, is it a brother or sister? I'm just going to roll odds. It's a brother. It's a sister then, right? So he has a sister. Let's give her a name. So I'm going to pull out my cards again here. Just pull one at random. Flip it over. And her name is Lena. So what do you know about Lena? Well, let's roll about his relationship with her. Oh, that's an eight. Eight suggests that, okay, sibling looks up to you as a hero. So Lena looks up to Wilbur. So to me, that suggests she's probably the younger sibling. So, so she is, I mean, despite the fact that physically he's not an imposing character whatsoever, nonetheless, she really looks up to him as a person, right? That he is, and I think particularly he's not super intelligent, but nonetheless, I think it has to be on the basis of some kind of like moral standing, right? Right? That he looks after her, right? And is willing to stand up for her, even if physically he may not be so capable in these cases, right? So that's what I'm imagining their childhood looks like, is that he has to stand up for her on occasion, right? And that he saying he can do so might be a stretch, right? But at the very least, he's willing to do so, and that in itself, right, is something that she finds valuable and admirable. Okay, right. Now I need to get to career choice. So there are a number of careers available. Let's say I don't know the count off the top of my head, but I can do the math. It looks like 14 careers. Right. Now, I want to choose something that makes sense in terms of his social skill being very high, right? So, one of the traits of these various careers is that they have a social, not a social, they have a preferred characteristic. And if your preferred characteristic is high, then that means when you roll, there's a risk roll you have to make. When you make those risk rolls, then you get a bonus on it, right? So, it makes sense, right, that if you have a high social standing, that is, it has to be 10 or higher. If you have more than that, which he does, then that's good for certain careers, but not good for others. For example, right, so an agent would be a law enforcement officer, a secret agent, spy, or a police officer. So something in that range, there the preferred characteristic is social. Right, so in that case, when he's making these hazard rolls, these risk rolls, then he's going to get a +1 on those. Meanwhile, something like Belter, right, their strength is the preferred characteristic. Now, his low strength doesn't give him a penalty, but it also doesn't help him. So when I look at trying to narrow it down to what is it that the social stuff would help him with, right? So I'm going to go through just in virtually reverse alphabetical order. Because it's really two, right? So a fixer, that's a deal maker, middleman, executive, sleazy lawyer, or street fixer, right? So this is somebody who's really focused on deal making, right? The other would be an agent, so a secret agent, spy, and so on. I like the idea of a fixer, in part because the really low physical stats I think would conflict with agent stuff. Because an agent, yeah, okay, you're relying a lot on social stuff, but at the same time, you might get in a fight. I mean, that can happen. I think that's less likely as a fixer. As a fixer, you probably have people around you that can handle the physical side of it, where it's really your job to do the social side of it, the deal making and all of that. So I think that that makes sense for him, that he is going to be a fixer. Right, so career fixer is the choice, and that means that he's going to be rolling on the skill tables for business and people. All right, so career fixer. Let's look at what happens. All right. So he decides, age 18, right, that he is going to go into business. Now, the next step is he gains the auto skill for that. The auto skill here is broker. So he immediately has broker 1 as a skill. Just write that down first. All right. So he has broker 1. And then the next step is to roll risk. Okay, so risk when you're a fixer, it's fairly safe. It's 5 plus. So you roll 2d6. We add a 1 because we do have that high social score. Right, 11, so 12. 12, you definitely easily beat the risk roll. And here he beat it by how much? So by 7. So then I can go and roll on the risk table. So risk, yes, is in success. All right, and then we roll again and add 7 to it because we beat our roll by 7. Oh no, I beat it by 8, didn't I? Because of the plus 1. So I actually had, yeah, yeah, let's say we beat it by 8. So add 8 to 8, and we got 16. So you are thrown into a crisis and take charge, gain leader 1. Okay, so just say thrown into crisis and take charge. Okay, so let's imagine what is happening here, right? So he starts out relatively low level, and everybody starts at the lowest rank, right, in their career, which means that as a fixer, right, he's a hustler, right? So you can imagine him being kind of the lowest level in sales, right? That kind of thing, um, door to door sales, that kind of thing. So imagining trying to figure out what kind of business he's operating in. So I guess there's the question, did he go into the family business on this side of things? So that's possible. Um, so I guess yeah, let's go ahead and roll that. So I'm going to say odds. The answer is yes. Evens no. So he's working for somebody else, right? So some other corporation. I'm going to say because of his background, it makes sense, right? That he's a fixer, right? So for another mining operation, but away from home, right? And what kind of crisis comes up that he might possibly be involved with? I think it makes sense that there is perhaps right some kind of deal or something that this mining operation is making with. I'm thinking with a customer, right? So they're providing to some kind of refinery various minerals and so on, and that this deal is on the edge of falling apart. And say it's a big deal, one that really mattered, right, quite a bit. And he sees this happening, so he decides to take charge. And what does he do? Well, it gives him a point of leadership that his people start to respect him as a leader, and he shows leadership qualities as well. So what I'm imagining here is that there might possibly be some infighting amongst the, I guess that's the sales rep team that is handling this particular account, right? And he really helps to take charge of that group, kind of cut past the others to make sure there's a deal that is acceptable to both parties. So I'm imagining this is really a matter of. Um, I lost my train of thought. So he is right. So the big thing is that he manages to connect with the customer, right, and set aside right the petty squabbles that are happening within his organization, right, which is something that others are having a difficult time doing. I like that. I like that. The next step would be to roll commission if he's in a commission track. He is not. So instead, we roll promotion. Right, so each 4-year term promotion is rolled on a 2d6. Right, so uh, his promotion difficulty, it's hard, right? So it's the cutthroat 9 plus. There are no bonuses on this. So we just roll, see if he can get 9 or more, see if he gets that promotion or not. He did, barely, but he did get it. Right, so the effect here, there is no effect at all, but I do get to roll on the promotion table. It also means that he did rank up, so he's now a sales rep. Okay, so going here to the promotion table. So he did succeed, and just roll a straight roll here because we barely made that one. And 7. So what does 7 tell us? So you scraped past, it doesn't look good. You spend this term proving yourself. Right, so you scraped past, spend this term proving yourself. All right. Um, So rank now at the end is rank 2, making the sales rep. All right. So it says you scrape fast. So I think so. He did have this one really good deal, and that meant like the eyes of his superiors were on him, and most of his performance was not particularly impressive. It was just kind of that one deal. But nonetheless, right, he was good enough, and that one deal kind of pulled him through to get him the promotion. So I think that that's the way we'll interpret that one. Okay, now the next thing he does is gain skills. Now I do have the choice of either business skills or people skills. Right, so the business skill table, admin, broker, carousing, forgery, broker again, or bribery. People, it's bribery, leader, carousing, admin, streetwise, or forgery. So I get to choose between these two. Um, you know what? I get two rolls because this is my initial term, so I'm going to roll on each of them once. Okay, so let's do that. So we've got here on people, I rolled a 1, so that's bribery 1. So I'm thinking that one thing that he has had to do in in this career, right, is he's having to deal with corrupt government officials at times, right? And so learning to deal with these people, right, is something that involves perhaps the ability to bribe. Right? So that is where he gained that. Then business, four is forgery. All right. So it's not just the officials that are corrupt. There we've got it. All right, so at this point, he has broker one, leader one, bribery one, and forgery one. The next thing that happens is we do a remain roll. So for this, we have to roll under 12. But we add the number of turns already served, including the current one. So I'm going to roll this, add one, and if it's under 12, then I get to remain. Yeah, 3 plus 1 is definitely under 12. So remain is a yes. All right. We also need to account for aging once we get to term 4. This is term 1, so there would be no aging effects. And because of that, I think we can just go back to the beginning since we stayed in the career. So, I mean, we don't go all the way back to the beginning, but back to rolling risk. All right, cool. So let's turn back, and we've got term number 2. Right, so it's still a fixer. And let's go ahead and roll on that risk table. So remember, this is a relatively safe, and we get a +1 on this. So we got 9 plus 1 is 10, minus 5, so effective 5. So roll there. So it's 7 plus 5, 12. After an incident, you are pushed into a backroom job. Gain computer 1. All right, so computer 1. That's a success on a risk table. Okay. Anyway, so risk passed, so pushed into a backroom job. So I'm guessing, again, he's a sales rep. So I'm guessing he had, right, some deal really go south, and this led management above him, at least for some period of time, to say, let's keep you off of um, we're not going to have you going out and representing us to clients for a little bit, right? You need to spend more time behind a desk. So he does this for a little while, and it's a 4-year term. He's not going to do that the whole 4 years, I suspect, but nonetheless, it's part of his time. So now roll for promotion. So again, we're rolling for a 9 or more. And he got the 9. Got the 9. All right, so promotion table, that's a yes. So he's up to rank 3. What is that rank 3? It's a senior sales rep. So he's moving up in the world. All right, and then we roll on the success table, find out details about this. And okay, that was a 3. 7 again, right? So it scraped past. So again, spent this term proving himself. So again, this time he had this incident. Um, now, but he did manage to prove himself well enough right throughout the term that he did manage to earn that promotion. Okay. Right, so there we go. So now we're going to again gain skills. Does he gain skills in people or business? I think because he has been somewhat more isolated, let's give him the business skills this time. Four. Four would be forgery again. So he's up to forgery two. Now we know what he's using the computer for. So apparently put him in charge of making sure documents looked the way they were supposed to look, regardless legitimacy. If I try, I can talk. Regardless the legitimacy of it. All right. Next then. Right. So we're back to remain. So let's go ahead and roll this. This time I'm adding plus two. Trying to get under 12. I'm going to continue. 7 plus 2 is 9. So yes, we do remain. Excellent. All right. So next term. We are now on term 3 for Wilbur Orla. Again as a fixer. All right. So let's roll the risk. So it's again 5 plus 1. Okay. So we'll roll a 4. Roll a 4. So I failed that risk roll by 1. So now I go on the failure table and add 1 to it. So 8 plus 1 is 9. So stressful situations cause a mental collapse. Right? Roll 2d6 on 7 or less, lower int by 1. So risk, we failed. Right? And this is stressful situations. Stressful situations lead to a mental collapse. So now he's a senior sales rep, and that means more responsibilities are piled on top of him, and he's having a hard time dealing with this. So let's see whether there's any permanent negative result from this. So roll, so it's 7 or less. 8. Whew. Okay. He did manage to keep his mind about him, did not have a total mental breakdown. It was just a temporary thing that he did, in fact, get over. So the question is, does he get a promotion this term? Again, cutthroat, so he needs 9 plus to get a promotion. No, he does not. He, in fact, fails by 5. So the promotion did not happen. Right. Failed by 5, so let's roll on that table. So 2d6 plus 5. Okay, so we've got 9 plus 5 is a 14. That puts us in the 12 plus. So you presided over a disaster, and the stigma will stay with you for years. So what's the disaster? You gain a -1 on next term's promotion attempt. Gosh. So presided over a disaster. -1 on next promotion. You can make a quick note of that, of the -1 here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make the roll for my skills first. Um, with how things are going, let's go ahead and roll in business. 3, carousing. Okay, so carousing 1. So I don't think I've gotten that one before. All right, so what I'm imagining here, right, is that, so the disaster here, we know this business is kind of crooked because he's learning a lot about forgery. So I'm guessing something came out, right? And it was something that would hurt the business's reputation, but at the same time was not enough, right, for law enforcement to really be able to build a good case. So I think that that is what's happening here, is that we have, right, Wilbur was in charge of a deal or something like that. There were certain documents that were created related to this deal that were in fact forged. This was revealed, and that was enough, right, to tarnish the reputation of, I'm going to give the business a name. Right, so I'm going to just, again, fold my cards here. Oh, I like this name, Phrixus. Phrixus. So it's Phrixus Industries. Right? No, it's Phrixus Mining Operations. Phrixus Operations, that's it. I like that better. That's the employer. Right. So that is what happened here. Right? So I think that's good. I like that a lot. Now, how does this relate to carousing? So now carousing is all about your ability to like deal with people in social situations, get information, that kind of thing. So I think that Probably as a result of all this stress, right? He's spending more time, right, socializing to try to just deal with, right, the stress, deal with the problems that he's having in his career, and this is in fact having beneficial effects for him, in that he's building his people skills in general, not necessarily just his business skills as well. So I think that that's where the positive effect comes from here. All right, so now this is the end of term three, so we add +3 to this. Remember, under 12 to stay in. Oh, we're not under 12. That is an 11 plus 3 gets us above 12. So we are no longer remaining. So at this point, his age, right? So at the end of term one, he'd have been 22, 26. So he's 30 years old. He is leaving his role as a senior sales rep. All right, so leaving the career. So what happens here? So let's go ahead. So character ready to play. Right. You begin with 1,000 credits. So make a note of that. 1,000 credits. Right. The character is also eligible for end of career bonuses. We roll on this bonus table once per. Uh, okay, so I guess it's a benefit table actually. Once per term served. If you achieved rank one or two, you gain one roll. Achieve rank three, we got rank three, we get two more rolls. So we get a total then of so we get five rolls. So five benefits rolls. Okay. And the benefits rolls either take the form of characteristic points, cash, weapons, or other equipment, uh, or augments potentially. All right, so let's do it. So 2d6, the first benefit gained is 5. That's +1 to social. Right, so he did build his social standing. I'll wait till I roll all 5 of them to add these into my character sheet. Okay. Then other benefit. Okay, oh, I guess there's actually a place here, isn't there? So +1 social. Next benefit, 8. 8 is +1 education. So I'm guessing that comes from he got some training or something like that, right? So +1 social makes sense because he's always using his social skills in business. 3, 3 is a +1 strength. Right? So he's been working out. No, I suspect this is because, and there's physical activity involved with sales at times, especially if you're working in the mining industry. So I suspect that that makes some degree of sense, that the physical activity involved. Right? Next, 10. 10 is just cash. And when it says cash, you receive a cash amount equal to the career's cash value. So the career's cash value as a fixer, wow, it's 84,000. Okay, so that's cash. So he has quite a bit of money coming to him there. And then one more, 10. 10 is cash again. All right. So when we add it all up, he got. Okay, so let's do some modification of his character sheets here. Right, so social is now up to 12. Education is now up to 7. Now the 12 would change his modifier up to a +2 now. Education is now 7. That doesn't actually in itself have any kind of effect. Then strength is up to 5 instead of 4. Again, that doesn't have any effect on modifier, but it is good because your physical characteristics determine your hit points, in effect. All right, and then he also has a lot of cash, so total of that's 48, so 49K in cash. That's quite a bit. All right, so that's that. So now a few other things that I want to kind of do to flesh out this character sheet. A psych evaluation. So I can check here. There is a table to describe the psych evaluation. So I'm looking at the various options here. See if one of them fits him well. Okay. right? So I could roll on this, right? But I think that we want to put together kind of what we know about him as a person to try to establish what this is like, right? So we know that his life experiences, right? He can take charge, right? But at the same time, he can miserably fail as well. That suggests to me that he has some risk-taking personality. And we also know this is true because of the fact that he was willing to stand up for his sister, despite the fact that physically, right, he is not an imposing character whatsoever. Right? He's definitely below average in every um, physical trait, and in some cases, as miserably unskilled as possible. The Dex score of 2 could not be lower. So I'm thinking this suggests, right, that he is in fact he's a risk taker, right? So he's willing to take risks. Now, does he do so? I think that he does in fact have, um, I'm going to say a facade of confidence. It's a facade of confidence. That's what I'm imagining here. Right, so we have age, 30, rank, there's 3, so senior sales rep. His career was that he was a fixer. Other things that I would like to jot down. So height and weight. So I want to convert his um, scores into height and weight, which we have formulas here for that, right? So for height, you multiply either strength or dex by 3. This player's choice. So I want to be short or very short. Kind of enjoy the idea of him being very short, actually. So I'm going to use his dex, which is the lower. So 2 times 3 is 9, add 154 centimeters to it, so it's 160 centimeters. I don't have an immediate good intuition about exactly how tall that is. So I know a centimeter, a meter is basically 39 inches or so, right? Or centimeters, basically 2.5 centimeters to the inch. So if I divide this by 5 and multiply by 2, that will get me there basically. So 320 divided by 5 would be 64 inches or so. So he's about 5'4". Right. So he is on the short side. Um, right. And then weight, if all 3 characteristics are under 7, then the character's out of shape. Well, they're all under 7. It's all 3 physical characteristics. Right? So in that case, out of shape indicates. So first subtract strength and then dex from 7. So take 7 minus strength minus dex. That'd be a total of 0. Right. Multiply the. Wait a minute. Oh wait. Okay. No, we do those separately. So 7 minus 5 is 2. 7 minus 2 is 5. So we have a total of 7. Times 10 is 70. Finally, add 50 kilograms. So it's 110 kilograms. So he is short, but definitely not a light character by any means. So, so out of shape in the overweight sense, right? So I know typically, I think you multiply by 2, something like that. So he is 5'4" and like 240 pounds or something like that. So he's short but not skinny by any means. All right. So I think that fleshes out the last details that I really want to worry about for him. All right. So we have here, or this seems pretty good. I mean, we have Wilbur Orla, right? A risk taker, putting on a facade of confidence. Right? He has various skills related to, especially the crime side. So the crime side of business, right? So lots of crooked stuff going on there. Now, I will also want to spend some of this 49,000 that he has in cash, but I don't think you need to watch me go on a shopping trip for him. So I'll decide what I want to spend this stuff on, decide what's appropriate. Oh, there was one more detail that I wanted to do. and that is try to figure out why he left. Why did he leave his career? So they have a table for this. So let's go ahead and roll it. Okay, so I'm going to roll. So it's this one. I treat the 2d6 separately. So I'm going to do spots for which table I end up on, and then the numeral for the result. So spots indicate it's the first table, right? And then the result for the career was crushing you. Well, that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Okay. So career was crushing you, right? So he spent time as a fixer, but he was done with that. So he needs to find something new to do. Right. So I think that that is Wilbur Orla. Like I said, going to send him shopping here. Now, in the next episode, my plan is to follow the next step, and that is to make a couple friends for him. Okay. So I think the way that I'm going to handle that, um, rather than do everything here on screen, I think maybe I'm just going to do things off screen in terms of creating stats, and then come back together to tell the story of who these people are. Right? I think that that is a reasonable thing to do. All right. As for now, thanks for watching. This is Prof E signing off.